Appliance efficiency standards and other measures in the bill will also reduce natural gas consumption substantially. Altogether, these measures will reduce consumer electricity and gas bills in 2020 by over $20 billion. Taking into account recent technological advances, the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, ACEE, proposed in March 2006 to raise the bar further for 15 appliances. Included in this group were residential furnaces, pool heaters, and DVD players. If these new standards were adopted in 2008, the ACEE calculates that they would reduce 2020 electricity demand by 52 billion kilowatt hours, which would be enough to avoid another 16 coal-fired power plants. The reduction in CO2 emissions in 2020 from adoption of these standards would be equal to taking 8 million cars off the road. Better still, for every $1 invested in more efficient appliances, consumers will save over $4 on their electricity and gas bills. With appliance efficiency, the big challenge now is China. In 1980 its appliance manufacturers produced only 50,000 refrigerators, virtually all for domestic use. In 2004 they produced 30 million refrigerators, 73 million color TVs, and 24 million clothes washers, many of which were for export. Market penetration of modern appliances in urban China today is similar to that in industrial countries. For every 100 urban households there are 133 color TV sets, 96 washing machines, and 70 room air conditioners. In rural areas there are 75 color TVs and 40 washing machines for every 100 households. This phenomenal growth in household appliance use in China, along with the extraordinary growth of industry, raised China's electricity use sevenfold from 1980 to 2004. Although China had established standards for most appliances by 2005, the standards are not strictly enforced. The other major concentration of appliances is in the European Union, home to 490 million people. Greenpeace notes that, even though Europeans on average use roughly half as much electricity as Americans or Canadians, they still have a large potential for reducing their usage. A refrigerator in Europe uses roughly half as much electricity as one in the United States, for example, but the most efficient refrigerators on the market today use only 1/4 as much electricity as the average refrigerator in Europe. A huge opportunity for improvement point, but this is not the end of the efficiency trail. There is still a wide gap between the most efficient appliances on the market and the efficiency standards just proposed. And advancing technology keeps raising the efficiency potential. Among industrial countries, Japan's Top Runner program is the most dynamic system for upgrading appliance efficiency standards. In this system, the most efficient appliances today set the standard for those sold tomorrow. With this program, Japan planned to raise efficiency standards between the late 1990s and the end of 2007 for individual appliances by anywhere from 15 to 83%, depending on the appliance. This is an ongoing process that continually exploits advances in efficiency technologies. In an analysis of potential energy savings by 2030 by type of appliance, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, put the potential savings from reducing electricity for standby use that consumed when the appliance is not being used at the top of the list. As of 2007, the estimated share of electricity used by appliances in standby mode worldwide is up to 10% of total electricity consumption. At the individual household level in OECD countries, standby power ranged from a low of perhaps 30 watts to a high of over 100 watts in both US and New Zealand households. Since this power is used around the clock, even though the wattage is relatively low, the cumulative use of electricity is substantial. Some governments are capping the amount of standby power used by TV sets, computers, microwaves, DVD players, and so on at 1 watt per appliance. South Korea, for example, is mandating a 1 watt limit on standby levels for many appliances by 2010. Australia is doing the same for nearly all appliances by 2012. A US study estimates that roughly 5% of US residential electricity use is consumed by appliances in standby mode. If this figure dropped to 1%, which could be done easily, it would reduce electricity use enough to avoid building 17 coal-fired power plants. If China were to lower its standby losses accordingly, it could avoid building an even larger number of power plants. Climate change is a global phenomenon requiring a global response. The time has come to set worldwide efficiency standards for all household appliances that are determined by the most efficient models on the market today, like Japan's Top Runner program. The standards would be raised every few years to take advantage of the latest technological gains in efficiency. The principal reason that consumers do not buy the most energy efficient appliances is because the improved design and insulation increase the upfront costs. If, however, societies adopt a carbon tax reflecting the healthcare costs of breathing polluted air and the costs of climate change, the more efficient appliances would be economically much more attractive. Although we lack sufficient data to make a detailed calculation of the electricity that can be saved by adopting the more advanced appliance efficiency standards, we are confident that a worldwide set of appliance efficiency standards keyed to the most efficient models on the market would lead to energy savings in the appliance sector approaching or exceeding the 12% of world electricity savings from more efficient lighting. This being the case, gains in lighting and appliance efficiencies alone would enable us to avoid building 1,410 coal-fired power plants more than the 1,382 new coal-fired power plants projected by the International Energy Agency, IEA, to be built by 2020. More efficient buildings. The building sector is responsible for a large share of world electricity consumption, raw materials use, and waste generation. In the United States, buildings commercial and residential account for 70% of electricity use, and over 38% of CO2 emissions. Worldwide, building construction accounts for 40% of materials use. Because buildings last for 50 to 100 years or longer, it is often assumed that increasing energy efficiency in the building sector is a long-term process. But that is not the case. An energy retrofit of an older inefficient building can cut energy use by 20 to 50%. The next step, shifting entirely to carbon-free electricity, either generated on-site or purchased, to heat, cool, and light the building completes the job. Presto! A zero-carbon building. The building construction and real estate industries are recognizing the value of green buildings. An Australian firm, Davis Langdon, notes there is a growing sense of the looming obsolescence of non-green buildings, one that is driving a wave of reform in both construction and real estate. Further, Davis Langdon says, going green is future-proofing your asset. In the United States, the private U.S. Green Building Council, USGBC, well known for its certification and rating program called Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, LEED, heads the field. This voluntary certification program sets standards so high that it has eclipsed the U.S. government Energy Star certification program for buildings. LEED has 4 certification levels: certified, silver, gold, and platinum. A LEED certified building must meet minimal standards in environmental quality, materials use, energy efficiency, and water efficiency. LEED certified buildings are attractive to buyers because they have lower operating costs, higher lease rates, and happier, healthier occupants than traditional buildings do. The LEED certification standards for construction of new buildings were issued in 2000. Any builder who wants a building certified must request certification and pay for it. In 2004, the USGBC also began certifying the interiors of commercial buildings and tenant improvements of existing buildings. It was planning to begin issuing certification standards for home builders by the end of 2007. Looking at the LEED certification criteria and examples of LEED buildings provides an insight into the many ways buildings can become more energy efficient. The certification process for new buildings begins with site selection, then moves on to energy efficiency, water efficiency, materials used, and indoor environmental quality. In site selection, certification points are awarded for locating the building close to public transport, such as light rail or buses. Beyond this, a higher certification depends on provision of bicycle racks and shower facilities for employees. To be certified, new buildings must maximize the exposure to daylight, with minimum daylight illumination for 75% of the occupied space. With energy exceeding the high level of efficiency required for basic certification earns additional points. Further points are awarded for the use of renewable energy, including rooftop solar cells to generate electricity, rooftop solar water and space heaters, and the purchase of green power. Both membership in the USGBC and the number of building proposals being submitted for certification are growing fast. As of August 2007, the Council had 10,688 member organizations, including corporations, government agencies, environmental groups, and other non-profits. Membership has grown tenfold since 2000. Thus far, LEED has certified 748 new buildings in the United States, with some 5,200 under construction, that have applied for certification. Commercial building space that has been certified or registered for certification approval totals 2 billion square feet of floor space, or some 46,000 acres, think 46,000 football fields. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation's office building for its 100 staff members near Annapolis, Maryland, was the first to earn a LEED Platinum rating. Among its features are a ground source heat pump for heating and cooling, a rooftop solar heater for hot water, and sleekly designed composting toilets that produce a rich humus used to fertilize the landscape surrounding the building. Toyota's North American office in Torrance, California, which houses 2,000 employees, was one of the first large office buildings to earn a LEED Gold rating. It is distinguished by a large solar electric generating facility that provides much of its electricity. The combination of waterless urinals and rainwater recycling enable it to operate with 94% less water than a conventionally designed building of the same size. Less water means less energy. The 54-story Bank of America Tower in New York, scheduled to open in early 2008, will be the first large building to earn a platinum rating. It will have its own cogeneration power plant, and will collect rainwater, reuse wastewater, and use recycled materials in construction. The complex of new buildings at the World Trade Center site is being designed to achieve gold certification. A 60-story office building with a gold rating being built in Chicago will use river water to cool the building in summer, and the rooftop will be covered with plants to reduce runoff and heat loss. Energy conserving measures will save the owner $800,000 a year in energy bills. The principal tenant, Kirkland & Ellis LLP, a Chicago-based law firm, insisted that the building be gold certified, and that this be incorporated into the lease. The state of California commissioned Capital E, a green building consulting firm, to analyze the economics of 33 LEED certified buildings in the state. The study concluded that certification raised construction costs by $4 per square foot, but because operating costs as well as employee absenteeism and turnover were lower and productivity was higher than in non-certified buildings, the standard and silver certified buildings earned a profit over the first 20 years of $49 per square foot, and the gold and platinum certified buildings earned $67 per square foot. In 2001, a global version of the USGBC, the World Green Building Council, was formed. It initially consisted of green building councils from 6 other countries. All told, as of August 2007, there were LEED certification projects in progress in some 41 countries, including Brazil, Canada, India, and Mexico. Also at the international level, the Clinton Foundation announced in May 2007 its Energy Efficiency Building Retrofit Program, a project of the Clinton Climate Initiative. This program, in cooperation with C40, a large cities climate leadership group, brings together 5 of the world's largest banks and 4 of the leading energy service companies, to work with an initial group of 16 cities to retrofit buildings, reducing their energy use by 20 to 50%. Among these cities are some of the world's largest, including Bangkok, Berlin, Karachi, London, Mexico City, Mumbai, New York, Rome, and Tokyo.